Welcome back after a long time to another entry in the gear of MGS. Today we'll be returning to 2004's Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater to look at a few more weapons and items from the game. We'll start with the machine pistol you can steal from the enemy, the Skorpion VZ-53, really named VZ-61.
I see you're equipped with a Skorpion. The Skorpion is a new type of small submachine gun made in Czechoslovakia.
I've heard of it, but...
But you never used one, right? Well, they only started making it 3 years ago after all. There are a bunch of different models of Skorpion. What kind of rounds does that one take?
32 ACP.
Then it's gotta be the VZ-61. The Skorpion is different from a lot of other submachine guns in that it operates on a closed bolt system. So you get a high degree of precision even when firing in semi-auto mode. Another special feature on the Skorpion is the rate reducer, a mechanism that also functions as a shock absorber. What it does is lock the bolt in place for a split second when it's in the rearward position. That keeps the firing rate down to a reasonable level, and also helps make the gun easier to control when firing in full auto mode. The Skorpion's firing rate is 750 rounds per minute. It ought to be a heck of a lot easier to control than the Mach 11, which has a rate of 1,200 rounds per minute. You should be able to handle it with one hand no problem in semi-auto mode. In full auto mode, you could probably manage short bursts. And it looks like that one's fitted with a laser sight too. The Soviets probably developed this one on their own.
This Czech-made weapon first entered production in 1961, hence the number. According to MilitaryTimes.com, it's a hammer-fired, straight blowback-operated weapon. Its surprising compactness owes to the lightweight telescoping bolt assembly wrapped around most of the gun barrel. You might say that much as Metal Gear is the missing link between infantry and artillery, the Skorpion is the missing link between machine pistol and submachine gun. While the former is fired single-handed, you see, the latter requires shoulder fire. The Skorpion can be fired either way. This weapon is associated, according to modernfirearms.net, with both special forces, who liked how easily it affords suppression, and terrorists, who liked how easily it affords concealment. Even though it's fireable one-handed, the Skorpion does feature, as I said, a folding shoulder stock to allow for shoulder firing with better accuracy. Sticking with Soviet bloc weapons from Central Europe, next we have the Ocelot unit's weapon of choice, the AMD-65. This Hungarian-made assault rifle is a compact carbine, first designed for airborne and motorized infantry. In reality, though, this rifle was only first developed in 1965, hence again the number, before entering mass production in 1967. The AMD-65 was exported around the world, where it remains in use even today by militants as far afield as Angola, Afghanistan, Georgia, Mozambique, Lebanon, Gaza, Syria, Sudan, Somalia, Yemen, and Zimbabwe, just to name a few. That means this is yet another weapon that anticipates how the Cold War will grow to spawn the war on terrorism, given its association with terrorist and paramilitary cells, and its origins in the Cold War. And they've also been spotted in the hands of private military companies like Blackwater, according to Military Factory. Next, let's discuss the legendary UMA that Snake can catch, the Tsuchinoko. The Tsuchinoko is actually a yokai, a mythical creature from Japanese folklore. With a name that roughly translates to hammer child, the Tsuchinoko are believed to carry deadly venom, and unlike normal snakes, sport eyelids. According to yokai.com, the Tsuchinoko and similar mythical snakes have long been a part of Japanese culture, even since prehistoric times. But they returned to popularity in the 1970s when, thanks to alleged live captures and sightings, a wholesale Tsuchinoko boom saw scores of people all over Japan trying to find a real one for themselves. They remain a popular subject for aficionados of cryptozoology like Major Zero, meaning people who believe in legendary and obscure animals like the Loch Ness Monster.
Yes, it looks like sending you in was worth it after all. Hurry up and finish your mission and then bring it back to us. Under no circumstances are you to eat it, is that clear?
How about the other sniper rifle in MGS3, the Dragunov SVD?
Ah, you've got an SVD. That's the Soviets' top-of-the-line semi-automatic sniper rifle, adopted just last year. SVD stands for the Russian words that mean Dragunov Semi-Automatic Sniper Rifle. For a long time, the standard Russian sniper rifle was the Mosin-Nagant. But at the beginning of the 1950s, when Soviet troops started carrying automatic rifles and assault rifles, the need for an automatic sniper rifle increased. The SVD was developed to fulfill that need. It can use the same ammo as the Mosin-Nagant, 7.62mm by 54 rim cartridges, but they developed a new type of ammo with a tighter firing pattern to go along with it. I heard that these new rounds have a steel core and are 2.5 times more precise than regular rifle bullets. Nothing can match that thing in terms of precision. Try it out for yourself and see how powerful it is.
This legendary weapon, first put in service in 1963, was meant to extend the range of Soviet squads and their AK-47s. According to weaponsystems.net, the SVD is easy to produce as one of the world's cheaper military semi-automatic sniper rifles. Military Wiki states that the SVD is extremely reliable in all conditions, with backup adjustable iron sights and a standard AK-47 type bayonet mount. The Dragunov remains even now one of the most iconic sniper rifles ever made. Next we have Snake's shotgun, the M37.
Ah, I see you got yourself an M37. The M37 is a 12-gauge pump-action shotgun. The thing that really distinguishes the M37 is that it's lightweight. It's about 2 pounds lighter than other shotguns. In fact, it's so light that it's been nicknamed the Featherlight.
Yeah, and to top it off, this one's had its barrel and stock sawed off.
That's probably a modification to make it easier to wield in the jungle. Those Soviet boys know what they're doing. I guess the other distinguishing feature would be the lack of an ejection port on the side of the receiver.
Ambidextrous, huh?
Exactly. It's been designed so you can use it left-handed or right-handed with equal ease. But that's not all. The low number of apertures means that it won't get jammed up as much with mud and dirt when you use it out in the field. This weapon is made for the jungle.
Good to know. But what are they doing with an American-made shotgun?
Good question. I guess they could be doing research on Western weapons, but... Did you ever hear about the SAS using shotguns in the jungle combat in Malaya?
Just stories.
In the jungle, you're always running into the enemy when you least expect it. The SAS found the shotgun to be extremely effective, delivering massive firepower in a short period of time. Because of that, lately a lot of point men are starting to use shotguns as their weapon of choice. Vogan's men might be trying that tactic out for themselves.
This is a gun with roots in the conflict that first gave rise in the game to the Philosophers, World War I. It's a trench gun, which, as the name suggests, were designed for trench warfare against the German Empire. Supposedly, Germany argued their use was a violation of the 1907 Hague Convention, one of the first multilateral treaties on the conduct of war in history. This treaty set into law everything from how to legitimately declare war to laying submarine mines, and the rights of neutral powers in naval war, and the prohibition of throwing projectiles and explosives from balloons. But despite these German protests, the trench gun became a fixture of the American arsenal, and in 1937, Ithaca Gun Co. unveiled the one in question, the Model 37, though it did not begin, it should be said, as a trench gun. Though initially designed for civilian hunters, the Model, or M37, aka the Featherlight, has become well known not only as a trench gun, but as a police riot shotgun too. After first seeing action in World War II, the M37 returned as a common sight on the battlefield, this time in Vietnam. Speaking of World War II, now we'll look at the gear that Snake uses to escape from the Virtuous mission, the Fulton Surface-to-Air Recovery System, a very famous piece of gear for the Metal Gear series. It was first proposed during the war as a means of lifting large loads off ground via airplane. It's been used by not only the CIA, but the Air Force and Navy too, almost always using as an MGS3 an MC-130E Combat Talon, or some other variant of the MC-130 Hercules. Devised by its inventor, Robert Edison Fulton Jr., for the CIA in the early 50s, the Fulton system was among the first projects for the CIA's Technical Research Division. The aerial retrieval system, also known as Skyhook, was devised to quickly exfiltrate operators out of hot zones where discretion was most advised. That meant typically the officers in question were from the CIA's most secretive operational wing, the Special Activities Division. Essentially, according to Military Wiki, a package with the necessary gear would be airdropped for the target beforehand. This provided them with a harness linked to a 500-foot high-strength braided nylon line, which rose to its full height thanks to a portable balloon. The mother ship would essentially fly into the line as the pickup crew on board would snare the line and attach it, pulling the person or cargo up with it. Next, and last for now, we'll look at the weapon used by enemy sentries somewhat late in the game, the M2 Flamethrower. Yet again, we have a weapon with a legacy in World War II. The M2, which became standard issue through the war into Vietnam, was the result of a kind of flamethrower arms race against Nazi Germany. Their Flammenwerfer was a man-portable backpack unit, which the Americans knew they'd have to devise a counterweapon against. By 1943, this had resulted in the weapon before us, the M2, designed by the US's Chemical Warfare Service. Unlike its predecessor, the M1, the M2's ignition system utilized a revolver-type magazine and cartridge, meaning reloading was only necessary after 5 different uses. It was first put into action in 1944 against the Imperial Japanese on the island of Guam, where it was used to smoke out what tended to be a determined, even stubborn foe. According to Military Factory, the M2 was often used in the Pacific War to clear out dry cover brush or flushing tunnels, bunkers, and foxholes of hidden or dug-in Japanese, some of whom, of course, the M2 burned alive. But ironically, in a tremendous demonstration of MGS3's themes about the relativity of enemies in the changing times, soon enough the Japanese would develop a variant of the M2 of their own after the war as the so-called US-allied JSDF, or Japanese Self-Defense Force. Well, that does it for now. Should this video get 30,000 views in the first 2 weeks, I'll return yet again with even more gear from Metal Gear Solid. Until next time, boss.